by appropriate means adapted to the requirements of mass psychology. Such a mass movement can achieve a constant supervision of the masses of class-conscious workers through an immense apparatus of block wardens, street monitors, and factory cells. Forget that.
Yeah.
It can also influence ideologically a part of the less conscious workers, especially the white-collar workers, and it can partially reintegrate them into a functioning class collaboration.
So,
Any questions?
sum that up. Sum that up.
Okay. First sentence, given the conditions of modern industrial disproportion. Lots of poor people, workers, and poor and unemployed, and very few big capitalists. Right? So they are outnumbered 1,000 to 1,000,000 to 1 probably, and if you count it up equally. They cannot centralize and destroy the working class by themselves. They can't do it with what he says here, a military dictatorship isn't going to be enough to do it. A police state, because fascism is different. You can institute a military dictatorship. First of all, it's expensive, but you can do it in this country or whatever, and pay the expense. But that still doesn't eliminate the class struggle. Even if you outlaw unions and this, the workers have not been defeated. Their mentality is not that we're powerless, you know? And in this country, we've seen the workers go back and back, more concessions, the auto workers. You can't think of how much farther back they can go. Keep giving concessions and concessions, giving up generations of stuff. But they haven't been defeated in battle. They haven't been demoralized. They may be pissed off and upset and resigned a little bit, but they haven't been, and I'm trying to get this is the difference. They haven't been defeated in a battle. You know, you can give up, and a lot of people, who wants to fight? You can give up. Sandra's tagging, I'm going to back up. At some point, maybe I might fight back. But if I'm demoralized and resigned, then I can't even fight back. I can't exert my strength. That's what he's saying. A military dictatorship, a pure police state, even in a place where you have a king, they do not have the capacity to do that. They can repress, yes. They can kill. They can break strikes. But within a few years, he says, they cannot prevent the reappearance of the elementary class struggle that periodically produced by the simple play of market laws, meaning in the factories, in the workplaces, people will start to resist. And because they're not mentally defeated.
Right.
And they'll have secret meetings, and a lot of countries where they've had political repression.
Well, right here in this country, during slavery.
Right.
Yeah, that under.
This is slavery.
Okay, and in slavery they had constant uprisings and
That's what I'm
plotting.
saying. Just everything
Exactly right.
that it talked about is
Right.
what happened to us.
But they needed a mass movement, and that's what they're going to get to in number 4, with the nature of that mass movement to really defeat the working class, break it up, and shatter it, not just physically, its offices. I mean, we're sitting here meeting. No one's thinking that, I mean, you know, yeah, nobody's bothering us, but they could at some point, in which case then we would respond by having some armed people at each door, you know, but even if they dispersed us, we would, you follow me? Let's say they dispersed us, came in here, broke us up, you know, we'd find a way to call. Cell phones are still working. We could still call each other. We'd meet in Derek's basement or his attic. And we'd find some place to carry out our activities because but if we're demoralized, what he calls demoralized and defeated and atomized, then we don't even know or want or figure out how to fight back.
Yeah, quickly before we move on, Dave, I got a good example of that. I have a brother who's been very, all his life has been a militant. I mean, he's been always opposed to, you know, the power structure, so to speak. I mean, he's been a radical all his life. But he's been working with the city for now almost 24 years like I have. And he's seen the changes going on in the city right now with all the workers being demoralized. I mean, unions being broken. He was part of the union at one time, union leader. I had a conversation with him lately, and this is an example of demoralization that's taking place with my brother, who is this radical. He had an argument with me about workers need to just start doing more work so we can keep our jobs. You know, forget about all the layoffs, forget about the attacks on the workers. We used to talk about all the time. We had this huge discussion, right, that we just need to save our jobs. What are you talking about? I'd rather be working than out on the street. Now this is the way they got us fighting each other, and that's why I think what breeds that kind of movement when we go in on each other and then we're in trouble because we don't have that fight back ability.
Yeah. And let me just say, in Nazi Germany, Hitler took power in 1933 February. They didn't establish their complete rule for years. It continually went on, but they did get all the most militant people. But it was the shatter. But you know what? They take 10 of us, the others will. So now you'll be in charge and we'll figure out how to do something. But there was no resistance, very little resistance among these millions and millions who had been communists and socialist workers. There was almost no resistance throughout up until Soviet troops entered Berlin and Hitler committed suicide. There was almost no resistance. There was some resistance by individuals, by some students, but there was no organ, and that was the atomization and demoralization of a whole magnificent class that had been in struggle for generations in Germany. They had unions that had been in existence for 50 and 75, 80 years. Kevin and then Debbie. Did you have your hand? No? Okay, Debbie, then Kim.
Well, of course we have to acknowledge though that the atomization and demoralization in this particular time in Nazi Germany occurred actually as a result of the mass murder of tens of millions of workers, socialists, communists. You know, the genocide against, but Nazi Germany's genocide against the Jews was really precipitated by a genocide against the working class. That it's not 6 million Jews, it's 10 million or 12 million German people, many of whom were workers. They were gay. They were organizers in the labor movement. So what they had was really they carried this out because they were able to murder people outright.
Well, I would say that obviously that was part of it. 1 second. I would say that was part of it, but there was still tens of millions of workers, or 10 or 12 million. Even if they killed 1 million, there was still 12 million. They didn't kill the whole working class.
No.
They tried to kill all the Jewish people, but they didn't try to kill the workers. They had them in factories to make profit. And yes, the leadership was beheaded. Absolutely, literally beheaded. But nothing emerged from the working class as a whole, and that only happened because they had demoralized them for a generation. For a generation. A whole new generation would have to arise again.
Yes, that's what
Brother over there had a... Yes.
I thought, I've always...
Oh, I'm sorry, Kim, you were next, and then...
Yeah.
Kim.
I just had a brief couple of questions. There's one sentence where, say the historical function of the fascist seizure of power has suddenly vitally changed the conditions of the production realization of the surplus value to, what's this last part, to the management of the decisive groups of monopoly capitalism?
The decisive group? Basically, for the big corporate monopolies.
That this
Yeah,
would
the
change-
top capitalists basically could make more profit.